Well, hello everybody. We are gonna go over my finished version of my mid-life, low-life, hybrid, whatever the hell you want to call it, Inquisitor, who survives on both life and energy shield while still having technically low life. So this ended up being the finished version of it. If you watched the video a little bit before I got sick, I wish this hadn't taken so long. If you watched the one from, if you saw the one from before I got sick, it was doing pretty well. But we made a few changes. So to begin with, this is how our tree looks now, which is pretty similar to what it was. We're just higher level. But I have anointed charisma now. And anointing charisma on my amulet and taking that one wheel, taking this one wheel here for auras, I'm wearing a prism guardian, has allowed me to put on so many auras in my helmet. I have a Herald of Thunder, a Clarity, a Precision, and a level 4 Enlighten. And then in my shield on Blood Magic, I have level 21 Vitality, Zealotry, and Wrath. And then in my gloves, I have Flesh and Stone, Herald of Ice, and Petrified Blood with a level 4 Enlighten. So 2 level 4 Enlightens does bump the price of the build up a little bit, but the end damage is only about 6 million. Now this is Cirrus damage, and this is no fluff, no special things ticked, no shenanigans going on anywhere. That is 6 million total DPS on Cirrus, 3.1 mil per brand, 2 brands attached. Now that's a little lower in just a raw number than what I'm used to dealing with in like a finished build, but at the same time it's really not, because the uptime is 100% and you can spend a lot of the time dodging. You have to cast like once every like 2 seconds or so, and it just stays up all the time. So there are 2 setups for this. The Stormbrand, these are pretty much the must-have links. Stormbrand Inspiration, Divergent Inspiration is really good. It lowers the cost quite a bit more, so we quite like Divergent. Everything else is default. I've got Swift Brand, Awaken, Control Destruction, Conk Effect, Awaken, Added Lightning. Now early on I did not use Controlled Destruction. I used Hypothermia until I had enough crit that I felt okay to drop Hypothermia, because I found it really important to freeze and shatter things, purely because I enjoy freezing and shattering things. That is the whole thing. So why is this build so tanky when it's only got 2.3k life?
Stray too far.
It turns out I have leech
pain.
because have reserved 49% of my life. You can actually see this little slither of life right there. Now that means I never get to full life, which means I also have overleech. So I have Inquisitor regen on both my life and my energy shield. You can see anytime I get damaged that it just links back up really quickly to full. We have the Petrified Blood, making us take only like 60% of the hit damage that goes to life actually gets taken to life, and then the rest of it happens in a degen. We have Blast Freeze that just freezes everything around us, so we never take any damage to begin with. Then a shitload of regen, then overleech, and it just becomes incredibly tanky. Basically, if you don't get one shot on this build, you don't die, and it does take quite a bit to get one shot. Like, we do have a little over 5,500 effective life, but important to note that the 60% or at least 40% of the damage that's done to the life isn't done immediately, is then done over that time period where it degens instead, and that just does nothing to us. It just does nothing to us at all. That's a never happens as far as I'm concerned. We've got too much leech and too much regen. There you go, you can see that I got hit once there by one of those guys. Nothing mattered, it was fine. Now, there are two setups for this. The setup I'm running right now is the quite high DPS setup. And then there's a much lower DPS setup that you can run that will give you much better clear speed. Now, it is quite a decent amount less damage, but clear speed OP. Let's press the log button. And I will show you what I was doing to map faster. Now, this did make me a little bit squishier and a little bit lower on damage. So this chest, one we made earlier, is what we're wearing now. It's got chance to explode and frenzy charge. I'm actually just dumb lucked into the increased effect of non-curse auras, which is quite good, but it wasn't something I was after. Frenzy charges is what I was after. Frenzy charges and explode.
Good day.
Explode is still really nice, even when it's only about 30%. It's still incredibly nice. We definitely don't want to skimp on explode still. But with that in mind, if we go over to Zoom, my Zoom tab, this build can very, very easily use the Impulse's Storm's Gift combination instead. So you lose a bit of damage from the damage on this gloves and the +1 on all my auras. You lose a bit of damage, you lose the explode fizz chest, but you gain Impulsor. You lose the life as energy shield. So this does make you like a little bit more squishy, but still not what I'd actually call squishy. Just a little bit weaker than before. And then you got to remember to put on every aura you own again. So a little weaker than before.
I must have time to
if we wait for the inspiration charges to fall off. So our tooltip in hideout was about 26k with the other setup. Now it's 25. I think it's 27 actually. We lose like 2k ish to change into this setup, which isn't a whole lot. And then what happens is we get shock chaining explosions, which is much nicer for any sort of mapping at speed. Is there enough in here to warrant seeing it? Plays exactly the same. We end up with significantly less energy shield. That's probably the biggest part. But again, everything's frozen all the time. Nothing hurts us anyway. Even the squishy version of this build is so tanky. Get those nice pops everywhere you go. This is honestly one of the most fun builds I've played in a while. Way too tanky for someone who's got this little amount of life. You see me took a lot of damage right there and everything just like flicks straight back up to full, right? Like if I just like stand there and try and take a little bit of damage, you see how quick we recover. And this is on the squishy version. About the only thing that's ever killed me is volatiles. Volatiles still manage to come over and just go poke, you're dead, in more dangerous maps. So this has been incredibly fun. I have worn a headhunter for most of the leveling process, but I did a few maps this morning and made sure everything was okay. I actually just threw this garbage Stygian Vice on. The important part is we don't have a lot of room on our gear. We do not have a lot of room on our gear for decks, and I don't want to take a lot of decks on the tree. So if you're going to not use a headhunter, we're definitely going to need a lot of decks. I literally found these in my stash, 44 decks and a jewel with 14 more decks, and that covered my decks requirement. That's honestly the bit I missed the most, taking the headhunter off. The headhunter has been incredibly underwhelming this league, except for when we're doing like King Harbinger packs and stuff in those areas. It's incredibly good then, but other than that, very meh. This has been incredibly fun. I hope people play it. I will put the path of building in the description. I have taken this to Cirrus 9, Awakener, all sorts of things. Shit, there go those guys. what bosses. It's done pretty much everything in the game. I have taken it into 80% delirious maps. That was all. Delirium orbs are too expensive to be running that content regularly anyway. I just had an 80% delirious map, so we ran that. There are things you could do to get more out of it. You could start corrupting woke gems. Oh god, the lag. Welcome to the Australian internet, people. Ha! Okay, never mind, I can't die anyway. Well, that was an excellent way to end that map. That was an excellent way to end that map. Thing can't die in the middle of a ritual with double bosses. Just for reference, crit multi, double boss, action speed, a few scarabs. It's not a super hard map, not super easy either. That's just pretty much just an average elk map with some scarabs on it. So yeah, super fun. Really enjoyed it. Path of building link in the description. It will not include the Impulsor Storm's gift combination, which is very simple. If you want to do the Impulsor Storm's gift, just swap your chest for Impulsor and your gloves for Storm's gift. Ta-da, done. And that's for the big chaining. But as soon as I got an explode chest, it was enough explode that it felt good anyway. So we moved on. The only other thing worth mentioning is if I was going to continue upgrading this build, I would not keep the frenzy charge generation ring that I have right now, because now that I'm no longer wearing Impulsor Storm's gift, my chest has frenzy charge generation on it, which is great, but that means this could be endurance charge generation or it could be assassin's mark on hit. That's the only useful curse for us. So one of those two things could happen, and that would be a pretty good upgrade. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. I hope everybody has a lot of fun playing this, and I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.